Name the last 3 weddings you've been to. So if you struggle to name 3, you're not alone. Marriage rates are in the toilet, even though 81% of Gen Z says that one day they want to get married. So what's stopping them? Let's talk about that now. So I'm about a month out from turning 28. I got married at 23 years old. I'd honestly say it's probably the best decision of my life. And not only because I married the person that I love, it also was financially beneficial. It saved me money on taxes. It made it easier to live month to month because you have 2 incomes, and that then made it easier to buy a house. With every financial or real life goal that you have, you don't just have one person working towards it, you have 2. But a lot of Gen Z looks at this from a different perspective. I hear people saying that I'm just not ready yet. I got to get my career together. Maybe in 5 or 6 years, I may be ready. I'm all for working on yourself, and I'm all for working on yourself before you get into relationships. But at some point, you kind of have to move forward with life. Because what if I told you that marriage isn't about being ready for marriage necessarily, but more about growing together? Because if I was waiting to become my whole complete self with no flaws, I'd never get married. And then when you look at the data, it all makes sense. Successful people usually don't build that success alone. Married men on average earn 30% more than single men, and 80% of male millionaires are married. There's just no way that could be a coincidence, right? So in today's current day, we all understand living life these days is hard. Going outside is very expensive these days. You can go outside and blow your whole check. Rent is through the roof. Food is expensive. Student loans are going crazy. And these days, a wedding literally costs the same amount of money as our grandparents spent on entire houses. 32% of young adults say that the reason that they're not married yet is because of finances. But I'd add to that, you don't need to view marriage as an expense. It can be a financial multiplier if it's done right. Shared income, tax benefits, and then shared services. Like when I say shared services, you only got one Netflix bill now. You only got one this bill now. You only got one bill of a lot of things. You don't have to pay for 2 mortgages or 2 rents. You pay for one. So this is of course ignoring a huge part of why people don't want to get married, and that is divorce. A lot of people saw their parents get divorced. A lot of people are seeing a ton of things in the news and on YouTube about I got divorced and my life just has fallen apart. And that's very valid. But if you look at the data again, Pew Research says that the marriage divorce rate is at the lowest it's been in 50 years. Now, the biggest reason that people are getting divorced is financial troubles, communication issues. Communication issues can be fixed in therapy. That's a lot cheaper than paying for a divorce attorney. And then money issue, again, if done right, if you find the right partner who wants to work with you and build something, you shouldn't have many financial issues when you have 2 incomes and 1 goal. And I would say we're probably running into a little bit of paralysis by analysis. There are so many options these days for choosing someone. I mean, if you just met, let's say you have a high school sweetheart, you got a high school sweetheart, you get to college, there's a ton of other people there that you could possibly date. Beyond that, this was just regular stuff. You have a job, you got school, you got all of that. Beyond that, now you have the internet. Not only do you have the internet of Instagram and Twitter and everything like that, of random people you run into that you may interact with, now you also have all the dating apps that people are really going to these days for validation. People are going to a lot of these things for validation. So you have literally 7, 8, 9, 10 infinite ways to meet someone these days. And then you'll be a lot less likely to want to work through something if you're like, I literally have a million other options that I can pull up besides staying in this relationship. So that's why you got a ton of people that just say, no, I'd rather not do this, and I'm just gonna go back to the drawing board and pick someone else. You can date someone, have fun, just enough fun until you have to be vulnerable, and you can literally just dump them and just start it over. And you can do it faster than you've ever had the ability to do it these days. So is marriage dying? I don't think so yet. I think Gen Z is just waiting a little longer to do it because of the financial issues, because of the fears about things. And evolution is a good thing. Like for instance, Gen Z couples are choosing cheaper weddings. They're not spending $1 billion on a wedding. Gen Z is the leader in buying homes, which means that for the most part, Gen Z seems to be financially responsible. So it seems like the vetting process is a lot deeper and a lot more thorough than it's been in past generations. And Gen Z just isn't jumping into marriage that they don't feel wholeheartedly sound about, which is a good thing. But also check yourself to make sure that you're just not staying out of marriage just because you're scared of it, because you can end up in a crazy marriage that ends up making you a worse version of yourself that isn't productive at all. But if you do employ a great vetting process and actually put a lot of thought into your behavior and your partner's behavior, it could possibly be the best decision you've ever made in your life. And relationships and marriage is just one way. Relationships and marriage, they're just one aspect of growing up as a young adult. And if you want to explore that just a little bit more, check this video out here.